32 teams started the season with the same goal, Super Bowl Sunday. In the end, it's San Francisco and Kansas City. The Jaguars gambled on a Super Bowl MVP, but it was hardly a lucky 7 for the teal and black. Next stop, Vegas, where they'll be on the lookout for some impact players.
I can still help in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to be. Who knows what the future will hold? How can a young guy like me be done at this age?
The Jaguars chose to 86 their pit box. Don't bet against TC resurfacing. The wise guys are out in full force in South Florida. It's time to double down and celebrate football's biggest game.
This is Action Sports JAGS, Making of a Champion, powered by FPL.
Super Bowl 54, that's Hard Rock Stadium. Hundreds of millions of dollars in renovations a few years ago, and it's looking good for a big game on Sunday. Miami playing host to its 11th Super Bowl. And it's not just the stadium, it's Miami. It's South Beach. It's warm. It's a little rainy tonight. A lot of reasons for South Florida to be a host city, more than any other city for a Super Bowl.
You understand that it's a hard place to get to in the Super Bowl, but for me, it's just about enjoying the moment.
Oh, and what a game we have. Nearly a pick'em game between the Chiefs and 49ers. The next best thing in the NFL is Patrick Mahomes. Can he and the Chiefs beat a sometimes dominant 49ers defense? Hello, everyone, and welcome to Miami. We are on South Beach. And it's been raining for the last 24 hours or so. Quite nasty, but it's supposed to clear up for tomorrow's game across the way at Hard Rock Stadium. Ocean Drive just behind us. Super Bowl 54, the Chiefs and the 49ers. I'm Brent Martineau. Thanks for hanging out with us for our Making of a Champion special here tonight. We'll have continuing coverage all the way through the game tomorrow on Fox 30 and on CBS 47. Of course, we're covering the game. We're also covering some Jaguars angles all week long, and Tony Boselli. We'll get to the Boselli news in just a moment. Before we do that, we have team coverage. Our entire Action Sports JAGS team involved, including Dan Hicken, back in Jacksonville. Stuart Weber is here. Marcel Robinson in studio. Austin Lane has some fun stuff from here at Super Bowl 54. He played for the Chiefs and Jags. And Mike Burrish gives us the forecast. It rained in the 2006 Super Bowl here in Miami. Maybe this one will be better. The Miami Super Bowl is good, but the downfall, it's pretty spread out. The convention center, various events, South Beach, and then the stadium is 45 minutes from where we are right now. Add that up with Miami traffic, and Super Bowl 54 is owning a lot of real estate. Okay, before we get to the game, the big story of the day, we were anticipating Tony Boselli possibly elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And as we told you this afternoon, it did not happen. We're going to bring in Action Sports JAGS' Dan Hicken. And Dan, we're quite angry about this now. This is not good. 4 years in a row, Tony Boselli, a finalist. We can't get him through that room. He keeps getting a phone call instead of a knock on the door. I thought this was going to be the year. I was down in that hotel lobby where Tony Boselli was staying, talking to some voters. There was a good vibe about it. It took a little longer than years past. And still, he got the phone call instead of the knock. We have to wait another year, Dan.
Yeah, you're right, Brent. I'm trying to get past the anger and make some sense out of it. He makes the top 10, so he gets through the first cut, but he doesn't get through the second cut. I'm trying to figure out why. And ultimately, I think longevity is an issue to the voters. But the problem is I don't understand why longevity is an issue, because there are other guys in the Hall of Fame who have started less games than Tony, who started 91 in his career. For example, Gale Sayers started 68, Kenny Easley 89, Terrell Davis 78, Dwight Stevenson 87, Stanfill 71, Nevers 49, Battles 60, Billy Shaw 23 games. All those guys started less games than Tony Boselli. There doesn't seem to be any denying the kind of player that Tony was, not just the best tackle of the 90s, but one of the great tackles of all time. We've heard from them all. Hannah, Munoz, and Jason Taylor talking glowingly about Tony Boselli as a Hall of Famer. So I wonder if some of these voters are simply leaving him way too down the ballot for him to not get enough votes and make it into the top 5. Certainly disappointing for Tony, who put on a brave face and had these comments after getting snubbed for the 4th straight year.
You know what? It's one of those things, and we are hoping for the knock. But, you know, you guys were in there with me. I got great friends. I got a great family. and great part of a great organization. And obviously, you want the knock. Is it disappointing? Sure, but there's 5 guys who got the knock. Happy for them, whoever they are. I don't know who they are at this point. And I guess we're going to be doing this in Tampa hopefully next year again. So we'll be all together, and we'll go from there.
We've had 25 years of Jacksonville Jaguar football. I think we've had at least one Hall of Famer. I could make the argument for 4, but I'll do that later. For more coverage, and we thank the guys from Jaguars.com for getting us the Tony Boselli interview. They have plenty of coverage on Tony and not getting in as well. The big fella was not just the Jaguars left tackle, a dominant member of that offensive line back in the 90s. Only 11 holding penalties in his entire career. He was the team's first ever draft pick, played the cornerstone, they called him, playing for the franchise from 95 through 01 before being drafted by the Houston Texans in the then expansion draft. Racked up 5 Pro Bowl nominations, was a member of the all-decade team for the 1990s. Here's what some of the folks down there were saying about Tony and his Hall of Fame abilities.
If you could get the prototype tackle of all time, and you said create him, that would be it. Tall, athletic, tough, physical, can play in the run game, great in pass protection, can single up.
If you are the best, or maybe one of the 2 best at what you do over 7 or 8 years in the NFL, you should be in the Hall of Fame. I want to see Tony Boselli recognized for his years of greatness.
You either know a guy's a Hall of Famer or you don't, and it's by how they play when they're between the lines. Not how often they're between the lines, but how they play. Are they a difference maker, and do they impact the game? Tony was one of those guys without question.
I don't like to criticize voters because I myself am a Heisman Trophy voter, and sometimes maybe I get it wrong or somebody thinks I voted for the wrong guy. But not getting Boselli in is hard for me to fathom. Heck, Leroy Butler didn't get elected either, and he finally just made it as a finalist. He should have been a finalist years ago. This was another member of the all-decade team of the 90s, one of the best safeties in the NFL for 10 years. You want to talk about Hall of Fame? He's as famous as they come. He invented the Lambeau Leap. How good is that? Went to Jacksonville Lee High School. Of course, he was also part of Punt Rooski with FSU. But Leroy Butler not getting into the Hall. Hopefully, he will be back for the next few years and eventually get in. So who did get in the 2020 class? Well, Troy Polamalu did. There's your offensive lineman. It's Steve Hutchinson, who was a guard, played longer than Tony. Steve Atwater, Isaac Bruce got in. And Edgerrin James might be good news in terms of for Fred Taylor, because understand this, every non-retired running back now in front of Fred Taylor, who had more yards rushing, is now in the Hall of Fame. Every single one of them. And Fred averaged more yards per carry than 14 of those 16 guys. But, of course, the story tonight, Tony Boselli, Brent, he does not get into the Hall of Fame. And 2021 is going to be a tough, tough road to hoe in Tampa. We'll have more on that later in the show.
Dan, let me punctuate some of your thoughts on Tony Boselli, because I've really been digging around on why won't he get in? Why isn't he in Canton, Ohio just yet? And a few things I want to touch on. One, everybody talks about longevity, but I love what Peter King said there. If you're one of the best at your positions, who cares about longevity? I'm so tired of hearing about longevity when it comes to Tony Boselli. You're either great or you're not. And Tony Boselli was great and deserving of a trip to Canton, Ohio. A lot of people on social media want to say the presenter. It has nothing to do with the presenter as far as I can tell. I've asked a lot of people, and that's not the case. So I know a lot of people pile on who presents Tony Boselli at the Hall of Fame vote. And right now, as far as I can tell, that's not an issue. I also talked to some Hall of Fame voters about who they are voting for, and I thought this was interesting. There were 3 offensive linemen, Alan Faneca, Steve Hutchinson, who got in, and Tony Boselli. And a lot of people will just vote for one offensive lineman, so they split the votes. Now, there was one Hall of Fame voter I spoke to who voted for all 3 offensive linemen. But you get the idea, because maybe some people voted for Boselli, some for Hutchinson, some for Faneca. It wasn't enough for Boselli. We really believe he's close, but it didn't happen here for the class class of 2020. More on Tony Boselli in just a bit. All right, that's the downer part. No Leroy Butler, no Tony Boselli, but I've got fantastic news that just came in moments ago. Breaking news at the NFL Honors Night, the mayor of Saxonville, Calais Campbell, who has been unbelievable in a Jaguars uniform, just won the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award for 2019. Put it on the resume. Another resume builder for potentially a future Hall of Famer. Calais Campbell has been unbelievable in a Jags uniform, and everybody in Jacksonville knows what kind of guy he is, what he does in the community. And tonight, honored as the 2019 Walter Payton Man of the Year Award winner. Last year, here during Super Bowl week, he won Bart Starr Award as well. So the resume continues to build for number 93. More on Calais, my sit down with him coming up in just a little bit. All right, so Boselli, Jags-related news tonight, and there is a football game tomorrow, less than 24 hours away. Super Bowl 54, 49ers and Chiefs, and what a game we could have, at least on paper. This one looks pretty good.
The Keys to the Game is sponsored by Listed.com.
On the biggest stage, we have a heavyweight fight. One of the brightest stars in the NFL leads an offense that at times looks unstoppable.
In this league, it's not about one person. It's not about a quarterback. It's about your team and how you go out there and play as a team and play together.
If anyone this season can stop the Chiefs, it might be the 49ers. An effective running game and a dominant defense.
Every game we went into, whether I was preaching it or not, those guys always felt like the underdog, and we're always ready to go out there and compete.
49ers fans are used to success. San Francisco has won the Super Bowl 5 times. Meanwhile, the Chiefs are playing in this game for the first time in 50 years.
The city of Kansas City is on fire right now with excitement, and then we appreciate all the support we've had.
History won't matter Sunday. The 49ers and Chiefs will have 4 quarters to separate themselves as the best team in the NFL this season. Cruising through Super Bowl week here in Miami, and there you can see the cruise ship leaving the port right here on South Beach. Ocean Drive on one side of us, the Atlantic Ocean, and that cruise ship on the other side of us. So much more to come from Miami. Super Bowl 54 on Fox 30 tomorrow night in Jacksonville. Chiefs and 49ers, biggest game of the year. Should be a good one. Our coverage on Fox 30 will start from Miami at 10 a.m. and last all day long. Hey, the NFL is all about good quarterback play. How good can Gardner Minshew be? Minshew all around Miami this week. We catch up with him coming up next.
You're watching Action Sports Jax, Making of a Champion, powered by FPL.
Whether it's Nick there or whether it's somebody else, it's going to be a competition, and that's how you got to view it. Because I think through that, that's the only way to get the team better.
Nice hat. Gardner Minshew ain't backing down from anyone, anybody. The second-year Jags quarterback ready to battle whomever, whenever, and however he wants to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Welcome back. In terms of rookies, Gardner Minshew arguably was the best quarterback in the bunch 1 season ago. And remember, he was the 178th pick of the draft. And that stigma will remain with him as you look at the stats of Kyler Murray and Daniel Jones, who went in the top 6, and Minshew outperformed those guys. And Drew Lock, who had a good win-loss record, but again, not as effective as Minshew throwing the football, or Dwayne Haskins or Ryan Finley. Minshew outperformed all of them. So then we asked the question, who do you think is going to be the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars? And let's start with Gardner Minshew, because if you polled the folks, I think most of them would say Gardner Minshew, absolutely. And there's one thing that Gardner Minshew has that we've talked about and we'll continue to harp on that Nick Foles simply doesn't, and that's the mobility. And in this day and age of smaller quarterbacks, keeping the play alive to allow you to get the 6 to 8 to 10 yards on those short passes means everything. And that's one thing that Gardner Minshew can bring to the table that Nick Foles simply cannot. Gardner Minshew is a feisty guy, and he wants to be the starter, but so too, we think, obviously, does Nick Foles. He was given a lot of money. And I think if you put Nick Foles and Gardner Minshew side by side over a 2-month period and just let them throw in practice, I think there'd be no question that Nick Foles would probably be the pick. So it'll be interesting to see how the Jaguars handle this, if they let them battle it out, if they name a starter before OTAs, before training camp. It's going to be very interesting to see what that decision is. Here's Dave Caldwell on the quarterback situation.
Well, I think both those guys, I think, can fit multiple offenses. So we'll rely on a new offensive coordinator on who he feels is best fit for his system, and Coach Marone will really dictate that. And then we'll go forward with those evaluations with the new offensive coordinator.
Is it best for this football team to have both these guys on the roster?
Yeah, well, it's better than having none. There's a lot more that has to take place in the process of evaluating where we're at and that whole situation. So I think in time, Coach Marone will make a decision on the direction he wants to go in, and then we'll move on from there.
Be careful, though. There's an old saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you really have none. One of them should be picked as the starter. MINSHEW doing Miami this week. Well, Brent was chasing him all week long down there. He did a bunch of appearances on the national circuit, sported that nifty-looking hat, and visited with a lot of the national media. Also caught up with Mr. Martineau. In fact, let's go back down to South Florida right now, where Brent Martineau is there. Brent, you saw Gardner more than once this week making the rounds.
Yeah, we're just trying to keep up with Gardner Minshew. You know, the national media guys love Gardner Minshew. And often we ask, what is it about Minshew that makes this guy so attractive to everyone? And the answer you keep getting is authenticity. He is who he is. He doesn't put on an act, and people like that part about Minshew. Now, we caught up with a lot of folks around here this week and talked Minshew, talked Foles, and we said, in 2020, if you were in charge of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who would you ride with? Here's some of their answers. Minshew or Foles, if you're in Jacksonville, who would you roll with?
I like the old mustache guy. I like his swagger. You know who he reminds me of? Joe Namath. Yeah. Joe Namath. Just cool, just a cool dude.
You never can have enough of that position, but, I mean, can it get messy sometimes because of that?
Well, it can get messy, but that's the head coach's responsibility to handle that mess.
They're going to have to battle it out. I'm not giving anyone the nod right now, right? I think every position should be that way. Too many times in our league, we baby the quarterback. We do all these things. We pay them all this money, yet they need all these weapons to help them. Oh, we can't talk to them a certain way. It's all these things with them. And so for me, it's going to show you who's a true dog and who's going to be that leader in the locker room. That guy's going to stand up and step up when need be.
I think Nick will be fine coming back and they can fight it out. But if they think that Minshew is their answer long term, bad as I hate to say this, then you send Foles back to Philly. They'll take him back. Hey, he's got a statue there, man.
Terry Bradshaw's a national treasure. Hey, we'll catch up with Minshew, by the way, on tomorrow's show. The weather down here in Miami has been fantastic all week, except for the last 24 hours or so. Been very rainy. Had storms last night, sideways rain earlier this evening, and now it's starting to clear out a little bit. But what about the game day forecast? We've seen some locals making the trip from Jacksonville to Miami. Let's bring in Action News Jax First Alert Chief Meteorologist Mike Burish. He has your Super Bowl Sunday forecast.
Hello. Well, it looks like a beautiful evening for football for the Super Bowl in Miami. Now, this game has been wet in the past, some of these Super Bowls in Miami, but not this go-around. After a wicked last 24 hours of rain and storms, we're clearing it out for Sunday. So by kickoff at 6:30, sunset's a little after 6. So look for a mostly clear sky, still a little hint of daylight at 6:30, but then otherwise we're looking at a mostly clear sky, light winds, and temperatures dropping through the 60s. Really looks very nice Sunday evening for the Super Bowl. Enjoy.
Thanks, Mike. Stop cyberbullying Joe Buck. One of the best in our profession will be on the call tomorrow for Super Bowl 54, and it will be a special one for him and his family. That story on the way next.
You're watching Action Sports Jax, Making of a Champion, powered by FPL.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, great team, great coaches, and to be back where it all started for me, couldn't be any happier.
Chad Henne, the former Jaguars quarterback, starter and backup, now the backup in Kansas City. Homecoming here in Miami for Chad as well. His NFL career started with the Miami Dolphins. Welcome back, everybody, to Miami. Chad Henne would love to play in this football game, but let's be honest. No Chiefs fan wants Chad Henne playing in this football game because that means Patrick Mahomes got hurt. Welcome back to South Beach, everybody. Our Making of a Champion special here on CBS 47 and Fox 30. The game will be on Fox 30 on Sunday, 6:30 kickoff, and we'll have coverage all day tomorrow as well. Here's the deal. When you make it to a game like this, you have to be good, but you also have to be lucky. And the Chiefs and 49ers have been fortunate when it comes to injuries. They're both pretty healthy going into the game tomorrow night.
This injury report is sponsored by Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute.
Well, let's begin with Tevin Coleman. Had to be carted off the field in the NFC Championship game with a shoulder injury. Turns out he's okay. Did practice this week. Coleman hasn't been the main threat in the backfield for San Francisco. That's been Raheem Mostert carrying the load. He's from New Smyrna Beach, by the way, and had over 200 yards rushing 2 weeks ago. Travis Kelce might be the most important player in this game, in my opinion. The star tight end has been nursing a knee injury. Nothing that will limit him on Sunday. Kelce has been brilliant down the stretch for the Chiefs. Fantastic tight end matchup with Kelce and George Kittle from San Francisco. One of the big acquisitions for the 49ers this year was Quan Alexander, the linebacker, good to go. He tore his pec earlier in the season and has returned to play in the postseason. J.J. Watt did the same thing and got a lot of attention for doing it. Alexander didn't get nearly as much attention, part of a healthy and really, really good 49ers defense. Fox will be the broadcast for Super Bowl 54. They've done it before. Joe Buck has done it before, along with Troy Aikman. In fact, this will be his 6th Super Bowl call tomorrow night. Action Sports JAGS, Stuart Weber joins us now from the NFL Experience. And what an experience it will be for the Buck family on Sunday.
It's been half a century since the Kansas City Chiefs played in a Super Bowl, and while a great many things have changed from 1970 to 2020, heck, look at that ticket price, just $15. It'll be a different sort of buck behind the mic once again.
We're at the Sugar Bowl, Tulane Stadium in New Orleans, and it is time for the Super Bowl. Hi, I'm Jack Buck. Pat Summerall alongside.
I've listened to a lot of Super Bowl IV and realized just how good he was at calling football. I thought he was as good as anybody ever calling football on the radio. And that's not easy to do, as you know.
As Joe Buck prepares to broadcast his 6th Super Bowl, he's had plenty of time to reminisce on experiences with his Hall of Fame father, Jack, and a childhood spent around the business.
I mean, I don't get into this business without being best friends with my dad, and I don't want to say idolizing, but pretty darn close. For our family, it's really cool, and it's something that I'll think about on Super Bowl Sunday.
With 3 different networks broadcasting the big game, it would take 33 years for Joe Buck to catch up to his dad, Jack, with 17 all-time games called. That, of course, is a record. At Super Bowl 54 in Miami, Stuart Weber, Action Sports JAGS.
I think we should have Joe Buck and Troy Aikman call opening night here during Super Bowl week. That would be fun. A strange evening of media, athletes, celebs, and just pure craziness. That is still ahead. Live from Miami, Making of a Champion, here tonight.
You're watching Action Sports JAGS, Making of a Champion, powered by FPL.
All right, so what did you get on 17, man? I'm not letting you off the hook.
Let's just say it was not a 2 and it was not a 5.
Okay, somewhere in the middle's okay there.
I made a bogey, all right? I made a bogey. I missed a 4-footer.
That's fine.
Leave me alone.
That's Trey Wingo from ESPN talking about his round of golf at TPC Sawgrass last fall. Golick and Wingo were in town for the Florida-Georgia game in Jacksonville. More from Miami right now. Welcome back, everybody. Super Bowl 54 on Fox 30 tomorrow night. And we had breaking news at the top of the show. Calais Campbell, a Jaguars defensive end, is the 2019 Walter Payton Man of the Year award winner in the NFL. A huge honor. And right now, Calais joins us from the NFL Honors Night on the phone. And we want to say a big-time congratulations to Calais. Hey, man, that's an awesome honor. What's this like for you tonight?
My mouth was dry.
That I could tell.
I'm like, oh, why is my mouth so dry? I couldn't talk. Well, I'm dehydrated too, though. I was sweating.
That's how I'm feeling. I'm nervous.
I'm looking at another face, so I felt pretty good.
All right, Calais, what all the work you put in and everything you do on the field, but you know you're much more than a football player. Is it rewarding to get this honor from so many others that now recognize it in the NFL?
Very much so. I mean, this is probably the most prestigious award in the NFL, and just what it comes with it. Just so many people who won this award before, and the way they represent their communities, and I'm honored to share in that. Man, it's pretty cool.
Calais Campbell, 2019 Walter Payton Man of the Year Award winner. Congratulations, man. We hope to talk to you tomorrow. I know you'll be recognized during the Super Bowl festivities tomorrow night. Have a good rest of your night. Go celebrate.
Hey, appreciate you, baby. Much love.
All right, Calais Campbell joining us live here on CBS 47 and Fox 30 from Miami as he's somewhere across town, NFL Honors Night, and just won the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. Congratulations to the big fella, Calais Campbell. More on him not only tonight but tomorrow in our show at 10 a.m. in the morning. All right, from this night, which is the eve of Super Bowl 54, to opening night, which is back on Monday every week, every year of Super Bowl week. And that's when the media gets to talk to the players. And you can see they've made this thing a big event now. Fans come out to it, and it's not as crazy as it used to be, believe it or not. It's tamed down a bit, at least this year, in Miami. Austen Lane played for the Kansas City Chiefs along with the Jags. He joins me daily on ESPN 690 on our radio show, and he has this report as we turned him into a TV reporter tonight.
The Kansas City Chiefs are bringing a high-powered offense to Miami, and the mastermind behind that offense, head coach Andy Reid, a guy that I had the privilege to play for while I was in the NFL. Speaking to some of his players, they want to win this one for him.
Coach Reid, one of the greatest coaches ever in the game, and man, we're all working our butts off to get him this ring. I really think, truly in my heart, like if anybody in this league deserves it, it's him. I want to win a ring for myself, but man, do I want to win a ring for him.
I've been very fortunate to land here in Kansas City. I've had an unbelievable coach and Coach Andy Reid, and everybody in that offensive staff room has helped me grow. His ability to get discipline out of a group of grown men is very unique and very rare. You don't get that everywhere in the league.
I mean, that's all we want to do. I mean, you talk to a lot of guys in this team that not necessarily we want the ring, we do, but we want it for him. We want to win this game for him and to get him that Super Bowl he deserves.
To have a great team in the NFL, it's all about preparation. And no one prepares better than Andy Reid, as he is 18-3 coming off of bye weeks. If you're a Chiefs fan, you got to love to hear that. From Miami at the Super Bowl, Austen Lane, Action Sports JAGS.
We had a good week on Radio Row. A lot of guests on ESPN 690. Go back and check out the shows on our podcast, Action Sports JAGS on ESPN 690, or go to YouTube and watch a lot of the interviews. Check out Action Sports JAGS on ESPN 690 every Monday through Friday from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. Hall of Fame was a big story today. Calais Campbell, a big story today. Dan Hickens sits down with Tom Coughlin, who's always a big story. And they're talking Hall of Fame, not only about Tony Boselli, but for TC himself and Eli Manning. That conversation coming up next. Well, there it is. It's all about the quarterbacks, right? Jimmy Garoppolo, Patrick Mahomes, Jimmy G, maybe a bit more of a game manager. Mahomes, a full-fledged star in the NFL. We are live in Miami, South Beach to Hard Rock Stadium. Coverage all over the place here in South Florida. Super Bowl 54, less than 24 hours away.
This is Action Sports JAGS, making of a champion, powered by FPL.
He is the worst texter of all time. I'm telling you, he leaves me on red all the time. I'll be like, hey, Jimmy, I got a question. Maybe on this play, should I run my route like this? No response. Jimmy, you want to go to a movie? No response. And then the next day, he's like, yeah, I got your text. I just hit respond. Thanks, Jim. That's awesome.
George Kittle's a character for the San Francisco 49ers, talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, some of the sound of the week here at Super Bowl 54. Hey, everybody, welcome back to our Making of a Champion special. 1 hour long, will be until 8 o'clock here tonight on Fox 30 and CBS 47. Back at it in the morning at 10 a.m. for another 1 hour show. Plenty of Jags-related content. Of course, we'll get you ready for the big game, 49ers and Chiefs, coming up in less than 24 hours on Fox 30. Brent Martineau here. We have our full Action Sports JAGS team spread out all over the state of Florida. And the big news today, Tony Boselli does not get to Canton, Ohio once again. A four-time finalist now, and Boselli was not elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So it's a very disappointing day in that regard. We thought this could be the year for Tony Boselli to get in. And now it gets a little bit tougher because next year's class has some big-time names that you know will already get in the Hall of Fame, like Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, Calvin Johnson, and even Jared Allen. It is going to be a tough class to crack in 2021. That's why this is so disappointing this time around. One lineman does get in, Steve Hutchinson, but we really thought the tackle from Jacksonville, Tony Boselli, would be in here in the class of 2020. And as we bring in Action Sports JAGS' Dan Hicken and talk a little bit more about this, Dan, I'll tell you what, the Jaguars and everybody else did their part. They even had these one sheets, really two sheets, it's both sides, and pushed Tony Boselli. They handed these out to voters and showed the resume of Tony Boselli and had quotes from various players from around the league like Anthony Munoz and Jason Taylor, who said he has sleepless nights getting ready for Tony Boselli. So the push is better than it's ever been before, but still can't knock down that door to get into Canton, Ohio.
Scratcher, but what are you going to do? And you're right about one thing. 2021 will be next to impossible in Tampa, Florida for Tony to get through when you got guaranteed two first-timers, Woodson and Manning, and I would think Calvin Johnson would have an excellent shot as Jared Allen, one of the top sack specialists in the history of the NFL. So it's going to be a tough road to hoe, but maybe it'll take that type of year to get Boselli, and maybe he'll be the one surprise guy in one of those years. We shall see. Boselli, of course, coached by Tom Coughlin here in Jacksonville. The one-time JAGS coach was let go by the team back in December as Executive Vice President of Football Operations. We caught up with him, though, to talk about Hall of Fame candidacies, quarterbacks in the big game tomorrow. I'll say this, you're a Hall of Fame coach. You'll be up for it soon. What would it mean to you to go in the Canton?
It's just another expression of, a goal, if you will. Although you really, in my position, you never took the time to honestly say and formulate any words that would express that. But by your peers, if they would accept you, I think it'd be a wonderful thing.
I know you're not going to be, playing 18 holes of golf every day. So I'm wondering what's running through your mind about what's ahead.
I did get one or two phone calls, and I can still help in a lot of different ways. Yeah. I don't know what that's going to be. Who knows what the future will hold? But I would say that
you're not done yet.
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah. How can a young guy like me be done at this age?
We see how good Mahomes is. And we've had an advent of the sort of the scrambling, running type quarterback in the NFL. These things sometimes go in cycles, but I'm wondering, is that here to stay?
It's a good question, but there's a lot of emphasis being placed on, if the guy can just run a little bit. But Gardner Minshew can run a little bit too, and it's a different kind of running. And he doesn't have the clock, the timed clock, but he has the instinct and the competitiveness to give you a first down every once in a while.
It's going to wear him down eventually, but I'd rather have 6 to 8 years of that kid playing the way he plays and building our offense around that versus trying to make him something that maybe he's not quite as good at.
That's true, but he can throw the football. Yeah. And you've seen the power of his arm. Yeah. And if it's all tied together with the run-pass option like the Texans run, there isn't any doubt that if the quarterback can defend himself a little bit by being able to move, then there's an excellent chance that he can give you plays that you don't necessarily get.
You know, every year that you don't make the Super Bowl, there's usually a former someone who does. This year is really no different for the Jaguars. Let's bring in Marcel Robinson for a look at some former Jaguars who are on these 2 Super Bowl rosters.
NFL players, they come and they go. It's the nature of the business in the NFL. Right here in Jacksonville, we've seen quite a few players take their next step in their professional career upon exiting the River City.
Seems like so long ago I was in Jacksonville, but man, it was good times there.
On the Kansas City side, tight end Blake Bell, quarterback Chad Henne, and offensive line coach Andy Heck represent the former Jags. Bell suited up for the Jags in 2018. Henne saw 5 years of action as a starter and backup quarterback, and Heck had a lengthy 8-year stint in Jacksonville.
Some of my best friends in the world still in Jacksonville. One day I'm sure I'll make my way back to Florida. I love the North Shore. Yeah, Jacksonville is close to my heart.
I tell everybody it's just about relationships and networking. I mean, the people that you've come across from different backgrounds and everything, and it all comes together for one reason: to win football games.
On the San Fran side, defensive tackle Sheldon was drafted by the Jags in 2016, and the leader of their defense, Robert Saleh, was the linebackers coach just 2 seasons ago.
Time in Jacksonville was unbelievable. The city's unbelievable. Really appreciate my time out there, and it's all part of a journey. Just those guys in that locker room, man, they played an intricate role in my journey, and they've been helping me out since I left. So guys like Calais and Avery, man, those guys mean a lot to me.
All we can do is hope that one day in the near future, players taking the field on Super Bowl Sunday will be wearing teal, hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. In the studio, Marcel Robinson, Action Sports JAGS.
Well, this is the first Super Bowl in Miami since the Saints beat the Colts a decade ago. A perfect spot to host the world's biggest football game. And he is the mayor of Saxonville and an MVP from the Pro Bowl and now the Walter Payton Man of the Year. And he's sitting down with us. Coming up on Making of a Champion, we chat with Calais.
You're watching Action Sports JAGS, Making of a Champion, powered by FPL.
This was the scene earlier in the week here in South Florida. The Fox Sports set remembering Kobe Bryant just hours after a helicopter crash killed the former NBA star, his daughter, and 7 others. The passing of Kobe Bryant has dominated the sports cycle all week, even during Super Bowl week. It has been somewhat of a somber week at times here in Miami, and also a celebratory week of the greatness of Kobe Bryant. The players in this game tomorrow have felt that, and they've talked about it. Here are some of the players talking about one of the legends in sports, Kobe Bryant.
You know, it's unimaginable. I never thought in my lifetime that, you know, a guy like Kobe Bryant wouldn't be here. I thought that guys like him would live forever.
You know, Kobe was, other than my parents, like, he was the reason I played sports. Just his mindset, his, you know, the Mamba mentality. And I wore the number 24 in high school, like my freshman, sophomore year because of him. And he was a hero of mine. And the world's not a better place without him. It just sucks, honestly.
The work ethic and the intensity that he had to be great every single day. And then even to this day, I mean, now I still watch videos on YouTube day before games and just listen to him talk and how he puts everything in perspective of being great. But he made a huge impact in my life for sure.
Calais Campbell and the Pro Bowlers in Orlando heard about the passing of Bryant during their game on Sunday. They had a moment of silence in Kobe's name. They continued to play the football game. Campbell, Josh Allen, and DJ Chark all played really well at the Pro Bowl. Calais, in fact, was the defensive MVP of the game. Just another accolade for Calais, and he's having a huge week now because he's a defensive MVP in that game in the Pro Bowl. And then just moments ago here tonight, as we told you during the show, and we talked to Calais via the phone, here in Miami at NFL Honors Night, he wins the 2019 Walter Payton Man of the Year award in the NFL. A huge honor for everything Calais Campbell does off the field. After the season, I sat down with Calais to talk about that impact and how he is just more than a football player in Jacksonville.
I wanted to be in the NFL. I wanted to be able to play at the highest level, you know, and make a difference and be a difference maker and just, you know, and be able to affect communities, you know. It's a good feeling. And so the way just Jacksonville accepted me, and you know, obviously you have to play well for, you know, they're not going to just love you if you don't play well. I mean, this is, you know, I mean, they want to see success, you know, but at the same time, though, you could tell, like, so many fans tell me all the time, it's like, I love what you do on the football field, but I just love who you are as a person. And it's like, man, you know, I just try to be myself and be the best version of myself, and be authentic and give, you know, and give as much as I can to the people. And it's nice to be appreciated for it.
I know your family's proud of that, but Dad would certainly be proud of all that, right?
Yeah, my dad definitely is. You know, probably my biggest motivation, you know, for this game of football and really for life. You know, I feel like I've been very blessed to have had, you know, incredible dad for 17 years of my life, you know, but him passing away at 17, it's hard, you know, it's hard for any kid, and understanding and just a way of life that, you know, his legacy is strong, you know, I mean, I'm his legacy. My brothers, my family, like, you know, we are his legacy. And so, you know, I started my foundation after the name after him because I wanted people to know who he is, you know, and you know, I mean, obviously he had flaws like any other man, but he was a man of principles and a man of integrity, and you know, I mean, I'm just proud that knowing that you know, I know in my heart that he'll be proud of me, you know, the man I've become and just what I stand for, and that means a lot to me. And the rest of my life, you know, I'm gonna try to make my dad proud.
Oh, everyone in Jacksonville, Jaguars organization, and all over the NFL proud of Calais Campbell tonight. One former Jags player in Super Bowl is Sheldon Day. The Jags drafted a defensive lineman in 2016 and ran out of room for him in a crowded position. He's a good player. He was influenced by Calais Campbell during that 2017 season in Jacksonville. I asked Sheldon how important it is to have guys like Campbell in a locker room, and especially in Jacksonville.
He plays an important role, especially when it comes to the younger players, helping them grow, helping them figure stuff out. So if you have a guy like that in the locker room, you can't let him go. He means more than just a play on the field.
More Calais Campbell tomorrow morning on Making of a Champion, 10 a.m. on Fox 30. A special relationship with one family in Jacksonville because of Hurricane Irma. It's a story coming up tomorrow morning. One other note, former Jaguars wide receiver Allen Robinson was also a nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award for the Chicago Bears. Let's go to Jacksonville right now. Bring Action Sports Jack's Dan Hicken back into the fold. And Dan, oh boy, here we go. We have to compare just how far away the Jags are to being like these two teams in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it seems like a long way. We all know the Jags had a disappointing season, right? And statistically, when you compare them to the best of the NFL, that would be Kansas City and San Francisco, it really, well, quite frankly, it doesn't add up. Now, we know what the Jaguars' record was one season ago, but for example, if we start with the scoring offenses, well, you may not know the Niners scored more than the Chiefs this season per game, but both were in the top 5. The Jaguars, not even close. They were 26th in the league in scoring. Defensively, not much better. In fact, you got a couple top 10 defenses, right, with the Chiefs and the Niners. But what do you got, the Jags? 21st overall in the NFL. And penalties, oh boy, not good. Niners and Chiefs again, 20th and 18th respectively. The Jaguars, second most penalized team in the NFL, just one behind Tampa. Discipline, discipline, discipline. They didn't have it this year, did they? All right, just wanted to point that out. Coming out on Making of a Champion, Miami is not only a place, it's a lifestyle, man. We check in on some notable coaches and players who seem to be adjusting to the 305 just fine.
You're watching Action Sports Jax, Making of a Champion, powered by FPL.
I love going into the Latin atmospheres because they actually don't know me. And so sometimes I'm in Miami, I find the Latin spots, I go in, and I'm like, oh, no one knows me here.
That's That's Gronk being Gronk right there, part of the Fox Sports coverage here during Super Bowl week. And Rob Gronkowski at another Super Bowl. So many with the New England Patriots. Now he's not playing football with the broadcast team instead. And by the way, Gronkowski throwing a party down here in South Florida. We didn't get invited, but Bill Belichick did. Look at Belichick's attire for the Gronk Bash. Plenty of comments about that one tonight on social media. Hey everybody, welcome back to Super Bowl 54. Brent Martineau, the entire Action Sports JAGS team, finishing up this 1 hour special leading into the big game tomorrow. 49ers and Chiefs less than 24 hours away. You can see the game on Fox 30, and we will have so much more coverage all day long and later tonight on Action Sports JAGS primetime. But let's tell you about our coverage in the morning. It starts at 10 a.m. We'll be over at Hard Rock Stadium. We'll have a 1 hour show getting you ready for the 49ers and Chiefs. Should be a fantastic football game. We'll break it down. More JAGS angles, including my conversation with Gardner Minshew this week, and also a special story on Calais Campbell. And those were some of the big stories we had today. Calais Campbell, Walter Payton Man of the Year Award winner, just happened tonight. And then Fox will have coverage the rest of the day, and we'll take you through midnight tomorrow night from down here in South Florida with Action Sports JAGS. It's Super Bowl 54. It's big. Fox is blowing their coverage out of the water, and we'll be along for the ride as well. Hey, tough day in Jacksonville. Tony Boselli did not get in the Hall of Fame. Leroy Butler not in the Hall of Fame. Hopefully next year for those guys. For us, it will be later tonight. Action Sports JAGS prime time coming up from South Florida. 10:30 on Fox 30, 11:30 on CBS 47. We'll see you then, everybody. Have a good night. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Action Sports JAGS, Making of a Champion, powered by FPL.